I'm the reaction video guy, and today I'm going to be reacting to a video. And I came here from podcasting, Abroad in Japan podcast, and I'm not much of a YouTube viewer, and I like podcasts, but on the most recent podcast, Chris Broad from Abroad in Japan was kind of complaining about a guy ripping off his video, 12 Things Not to Do in Japan. And let's see how he reacts. But I'm going to be reacting to his reaction. So let's take a look. Let's see what we can do. What can we do?
Things not to do in Japan. Yeah, this is interesting because Japan has so many
That's
rules
me.
that are different from other countries.
That is me.
So as a native Japanese, I'll tell you guys my perspective, and I hope you guys enjoy this video. Now let's go. Okay, so 3, 2, 1, go. Perspective, and I hope you guys enjoy this video. And let's go. Okay, so 3, 2, 1, go.
So walking down the street
Don't
whilst
eat
eating and
and
drinking
drink while walking.
You're not going to get shouted at,
No.
you're not going to get arrested by Ace Detective Sherlock Bones, but what you will get is the stare of disapproval. A lot of people don't know this one until you get here and never see anyone doing it. What you'll find is if someone wants to eat or drink something quickly outside, they'll buy it at the convenience store and then eat it or drink it out the front. Same with vending machines. If they buy something from the vending machine, they'll drink it there and then next to the vending machine. The main reason is people are very conscious about keeping the streets clean here, and you don't want to ruin someone else's day by having them walk through your spilled coffee. That said, all you need to do to avoid the stare of disapproval is just stop and eat and drink whatever it is there and then. Maybe it's on a bench, maybe you're just standing at the side of the road, whatever. Just don't walk whilst eating and drinking and you'll be alright.
Okay. Yeah, kind of, but not that strict. If you Google tabearuki, which means eat and drink while walking, you can find many good places for tabearuki. For instance, in Osaka, I see a lot of people eating takoyaki while walking. So it doesn't make sense, right? So please don't take it seriously. There are a lot of people, including me.
So this is a terrible reaction. I mean, he's just saying
even in
exactly
Tokyo.
what Chris said. And Chris, he's a respected podcaster and YouTuber. So why am I listening to this guy again? He's a Japanese guy. He's not even a reaction video guy like me.
Or everywhere. So
Chris says not to take it seriously. Oh, what can we do now? Can we pause?
Okay.
No, we can't pause the ads.
Yep.
3 things to point out here. Number 1, never put your chopsticks upright into the rice, as this is part of a ritual conducted at funerals when offering rice to the spirits of the deceased. Similarly,
Yeah, he's
number
right.
2, never pass things.
So what are we getting from you?
Because again, this is done during funerals to pass the bones of
Chris is
relatives.
correct.
So that kind
How do
of
we even
imagery
know
doesn't
you're-
go down well
I don't know.
over dinner, as you'd expect. Probably best not to conjure up imagery surrounding death before you've even had your lunch. Oh, and thirdly, don't do the rubbing of the chopsticks. You know when you open wooden chopsticks, you like to do that to get rid of the splinters, just because it's fun. Everyone likes doing that, right? But don't do it in Japan because it's seen as rude to the owner, because you're basically saying, oh, your chopsticks are probably cheap, which, let's face it, they probably are. But in fact, they usually definitely are.
Yeah, we don't think that way, but we never do that. I don't know why so many people from overseas do this kind of thing. So this is interesting.
It's interesting, but are you interesting? I don't know, your reaction is not a reaction. Don't
Probably
tip.
the greatest thing about Japan ever, and the reason that I eat out several times a week, just because I save 20% automatically. In Japan, it's believed that customer service should always be exceptional, with staff giving 120% every time. 120%, 110%, 120%.
Depends on the
But it's not
person.
necessarily rude.
But
to
basically,
someone.
yes.
It just creates this awkward situation where
So what you're
the
saying is that
worker
Chris is
can't
correct.
feel like
That's
you're
your reaction.
assessing their performance.
I
They
already
could
know
potentially
Chris is correct.
lose face. So you might think you're being nice by giving someone a tip, but you're not. You're just creating an uncomfortable situation for the worker, and they'll probably just reject your tip outright. So don't be tempted to do it.
Yeah, I think this is really interesting. Like if I were worker, I would be happy to have tipping system. But if I were customer, I would hate tipping system. So it's a bit difficult to define whether it's good or not.
What does that even mean? The workers. The whole point is the workers get paid more, so they don't need to get tipped. It's the way it is in Australia too.
There's a real emphasis on being mindful when you're using public transport in Japan. That's often completely absent in many countries. Numerous of the times that I've been riding a train in the UK and someone nearby has been screaming at their partner down the phone, and I felt like I was part of the argument, like some kind of unpleasant 4D experience. Given Japan's density, it's especially important to be mindful when you're stuffed in a train alongside fellow commuters, many of whom are sleeping as well. With that in mind, don't ever talk on your phone on the train. That's a massive, no thing to do here. And even talking loudly is looked down upon. If you're on a local train or a subway train and you get a phone call, just ignore it until you get off. And if you're on a bullet train, you can go to the little compartment in between the carriages and take your call there.
Yeah, keeping silent is the best way when you use transportation in Japan. Trust me.
Why? Wait, hold on. Why would I be trusting you? Chris is the guy that's done some research. He's lived there. He understands things. He's a respected, podcaster, YouTuber. But I'm meant to trust you? No, I trust Chris.
I remember for the first few years that I lived here, whenever someone handed me a business card, I was utterly terrified because until then, business cards to me had always just been a bit of paper, a bit of card with some writing on. But in Japan, they are so much more. Once you've exchanged business cards, the trick is to imagine you've just been handed the lost treasure of El Salvador or something. First, study it meticulously, the name, the job position, the details, and then either put it in your business card holder or just put it on the desk if you're at a business meeting. Just put it on the table. Never play around with business cards or put them in your back pocket because they're seen as a physical extension of the person themselves, and you don't want to stuff somebody's physical extension down your back pocket. If you're doing business in Japan, always carry business cards. You don't want to be that awkward foreigner who stood there writing out their name and number 50 times in 1 hour on the back of a tissue. And for the record, I am usually that awkward foreigner scribbling down my details because I do forget to bring them, and subsequently I hate myself when it happens.
No, I mean, it's okay. To me, business card is a bit old-fashioned. Even I get business card from someone, I totally never see that business card again. So instead, what I do is just give it my own website and Instagram and Facebook, so that they don't need to have these paper things. And moreover, it's much easier to understand what I exactly do. But this is just my opinion.
Never mind, he says. Why would I mind? Because I don't mind, because you're doing nothing. Ay. So, a business card. So what is a business card? A business card says your name, it says your contact details like Instagram and Facebook and phone number. And what did you just say? You just give all those things. So you just magically give them. I know a magic way of giving all those details. You give them on a business card. So he doesn't do that. I don't know. He's got the magic way. But the magic way is already there. Use a business card. It's a good idea.
Never mind.
Yeah, I won't mind because it's just your opinion, which is rubbish.
If you've got a runny nose, standard procedure here is just to keep sniffing, or just to find a toilet or a broom cupboard to hide in. Blowing noses in public is pretty rude. Interestingly though, handkerchiefs are pretty popular here. Not in the way you would think though. People use them to wipe sweat off in the hot summer weather, or even more commonly to dry their hands in public toilets. Because surprisingly, many public toilets in Japan don't have any hand drying facilities, despite having space-age toilets that reside in the same room. It's quite a weird contrast that I don't quite understand.
Okay. I mean, it depends on the person, but now under influence of, we're getting very sensitive, so I think we should avoid this. Anyway.
Under the influence of we should avoid this. this is great advice. I would recommend, yes, you follow Chris's advice. The interesting thing about the handkerchief is that, like, people in the 40s, 30s, 50s, they did actually use them for, wiping their brow for the sweat. And interestingly enough, that's what they do in Japan these days. They still do it.
Physical contact in Japan isn't really a thing. You'll bow a lot, you'll nod enthusiastically daily, but occasionally you might shake hands with someone if they're a good friend or a business client that you get on well with. But generally, I avoid it unless someone makes the first move. And hugging in particular doesn't go down well. It's just expressions of awkwardness and despair. And also, amongst couples, public displays of affection are phenomenally rare here. Don't be surprised if you get the stare of disapproval if you're kissing your partner frantically in the street. Nice thing.
Yeah, shaking hand is fine, but we don't do hug. And yeah, it's fine.
We already got told that by Chris. Why do we need to be told by you? You're agreeing with Chris? I don't know. And he knows what he's doing. I don't even know if you know what you're doing. So, I don't know. Why am I listening to you?
If you're the sort of person who feels the need to have a debate or an argument about things or throw your opinions out there constantly, people will find you obnoxious and dislikable and probably just avoid you. Embedded heavily within the culture is this idea of keeping harmony and avoiding conflict at all costs. And it's a lot easier to do that when people aren't at each other's throats, throwing around opinions. Sometimes it can be frustrating when people are just unwilling to speak their minds or give you a clear yes or no answer. I mean, one time, one of my colleagues, when I was teaching, I asked him, do you have any pets? And he said to me, maybe my cat is dead. Maybe your cat is dead. What does that mean? Is it dead or is it not dead? It's not.
You have a good laugh, I'll give you that. But, I don't know why I'm listening to your opinion.
He was just the sort of person that always liked to use the word maybe. Just not express certainty. But if there's one reason I've never seen a fight anywhere in Japan in the last 5 years, it's probably this reason. That people are a lot more careful about expressing their opinions and holding back what they really think.
Yeah, at this point, he's right, but of course not everyone. Just depends on the person, but most Japanese people tend to be like this. Yeah, he's right.
He's right, okay, I'm glad you said he's right. I'm not sure what you're right about, though. But you said it, but he's right.
This one already anyway. When visiting someone's house or entering a public building like a school or going to a hot spring, you take off your shoes and switch to slippers before you go in. The easiest way of knowing if you have to change your shoes is there'll be a change in elevation in the floor. So when you go in, there'll be a little stair, and that's when you know. This is the one thing on the list where failing to stick to the rules will have noticeable results. A few years ago, a friend and I visited a public bathhouse in Kyoto, and we went in, and you're supposed to take your shoes off. For some reason, he didn't. I don't know why. I don't think he noticed or saw. There was a little old woman sitting behind the entrance counter where you kind of pay. And when we walked in, she saw that he still had his shoes on. And she shot up with terrifying energy. To the front.
It is a good laugh. You got a good laugh there, my friend.
And that image has stayed burnt into my mind. This quiet little old woman suddenly becoming so alive and animated. And ever since then,
yeah, I don't know. Is it the laugh that makes you a good reaction guy? I don't know. I think the one good thing to remember there is don't wear the toilet slippers outside of the toilet. There's different slippers when you go into the toilet. You make that one, then that's a bad one. There are no rubbish bins in Japan.
For whatever reason, rubbish bins and trash cans are disturbingly rare in Japan. Outside of convenience stores, it can be a nightmare to find one. And the reason I put this on the list is because so many people, so many of you guys message me on Twitter saying, I'm in Tokyo and I can't find a bin, what should I do? I've wandered through Tokyo for up to 20 minutes sometimes, just in search of a bin and can't find one. So despite that, are shockingly clean here, because people, if they can't find a bin, they just take the rubbish home with them. It can feel like some kind of mini-game sometimes, going in search for a bin, because when you do find a bin, you feel a real sense of achievement. But despite that, don't be tempted to litter. Just keep trying, and you'll find a bin one day. Seems like a fairly obvious addition to the list, and yet in the UK we just cross the street whenever the hell we want. Whenever there's an opening in traffic as opposed to waiting for the green light. Same as many countries. In Japan, however, people do not cross the road on a red light. It's incredibly rare, and it's one of the greatest ways of seeing this sense of order and obedience to the law that exists in Japan. If you stand at a roadside in Japan and there's no cars coming, you can't see any cars whatsoever, people still will not cross the road until it goes green. Over the years of the many friends I've had come to visit me here, this is the thing
Don't you love that great acting face of Chris Broad there?
When there's no visible cars there. The idea of abiding by a rule that doesn't seem necessary. And yet, for me personally, the main reason that I abide by it is after a few years of being here, you don't want to stand out. You don't want to be this stereotypical rule-breaking. And as well as that, you don't want to run the risk of getting caught out by the police. So those are two things worth taking into consideration before you dash across the
This guy just all he seems to do is those typical Japanese reactions. Nod your head. Don't worry about not knowing Japanese etiquette.
Real consequences to not following any of these things, apart from maybe the footwear one. That's quite scary. You don't want to get dragged off by an old woman. The reason I say don't worry too much is because I find a lot of people come here and they're very nervous and very anxious about following the etiquette they don't really comprehend. And that includes even me. When I came here, I didn't know anything, and I was constantly anxious and nervous that I was making mistakes. But really, as a foreigner in Japan, you get kind of a free pass to make mistakes. People are understanding and they're kind.
Chris is right. The Japanese people are great. They know you're not Japanese. You don't know all their rules, and they will.
So those are my 12 things not to do in Japan.
They will take it
what
into
have I missed
account.
out? Let us know in the comment section below. I've probably missed out. Don't ever be late. Don't enter a bath or a hot spring without having a shower first. Those are probably the other two key ones that I've missed out. And now they're on the list. So this is actually 14 things not to do in Japan. So bonus stuff there. It's Christmas, so you get extra content.
Thank you.
Happy Christmas. So is this Christmas? The happy new dawn. You and Ellen did one, but of the area.
Who is he? Yeah, it was really good content for sure, but sometimes not that strict as much as he thinks. So please don't take everything seriously. And as he said in the last, when you come to Japan, please don't be nervous. We are all kind. And also, when I go to your country, please be kind to me. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching.
You're kind of a nice guy, but I don't know about your your reactions. What are you doing with your fingers? Okay, you have to go down. Okay, I have been the reaction video guy. Is that my name again? The reaction video guy. But I'd say don't listen to this guy. Listen to Abroad in Japan. Sayonara.